Because it died. Yeah. Dennis, how are you doing on this lovely,
I'm good.
crisp
I'm
December
good.
evening?
It's good to have new images flashing through my brain. It's a moment of deep humor, satisfaction, and gratitude that I lift a fat tire unto you.
Yeah, baby.
For happy hour number 962 or something.
Something along those lines, yeah.
That's our ranking, by the way.
Is it?
In a certain, 962nd. My guess is that there's 1,000 that they're counting.
By my records, this is episode number 89.
89 dead men. 89 dead men. Remember that?
89. From Turn Me On, Dead Men?
Yeah.
Did I get your...
Yeah.
Did I televise your revolution?
Well, hey, I'm going to set some ground rules for tonight. No complicated questions, certainly. No questions that have two parts. All right, that's...
Okay, single part questions.
If at all.
Okay.
If any at all.
Good. That was a short list. So, man, your requirements.
Is it a crisp evening in Spain? Because it is here, in fact.
Here it's a soggy, cold evening.
50s, 40s?
50s.
50s.
Yeah.
We're in the 30s and a little bit of snow.
Nice.
Crisp.
Yeah.
These are, in fact, sound more like soggy, but...
Yeah, the New England got quite a bit of snow today, I believe.
A nor'easter. And I said to my wife, you know why I know that won't affect us? And she said, why? And I said, because we're not in the nor'east.
Nice.
I thought it was funny. She did it. That's clever, right?
Yeah.
I should have been...
If you
just trying to
if
raise spirits, so to speak.
Yeah. I guess Jewish people celebrate neither Christmas nor Easter.
Correct?
Right? So
there's that.
There's that.
Next question.
There it is. Next question.
And I said no two-part questions. That seemed to me like a two-part questions. So it's been a kind of crazy COVID day when and Kalamazoo, of course, is internationally known now as the location of Pfizer, and the shipments from all the initial shipments came out of this town. So it's pretty damn remarkable.
So you locals have already snuck in and gotten your shot.
I got a shot 6 weeks ago, but I didn't want to talk about it. No. And in fact, I had thought at one point that maybe Pfizer would say, as a gift to this community, where we are, let's go. And I suspect that they don't want to be embarrassed about how it goes in Kalamazoo.
In their own backyard.
So anyway, it's pretty remarkable. And of course, all this extending, blatantly clear Trumpism that's just setting him up, as we've talked about, just to make money. And he's saying, to confidants who are all reporting it to the news, he's saying, well, I certainly am going to talk about running, and whether I do it or not will just have to remain to be seen. So that means all the people that want to run against Joe Biden in 4 years, which is right around the corner,
right,
they can't do anything because they're so scared of him. And it's remarkable. He's gonna make it work for him. The only thing he's got to worry about, of course, is state level indictments.
Right.
He could be in deep shit there. Wouldn't he just go over to Scotland and live? Would they what do you call it? Extradite him from Scotland? Do we have an extradition treaty with Ireland? Or Scotland, I should say?
Probably. I would think. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm just so happy that my future holds almost entire days where I don't think about that.
Yes. And to the credit of the press, at least the press that I watch, they're really not giving Trump any camera time or face time. Nice. They're reporting that he's spoken. And they might quote him or show a clip that makes the point of what the fuck is he saying? Why is he saying this? He is such a crazy man. He can't help but telegraph his punches, right, because he's so narcissistic that he can't wait for the reflection on him to be positive. So he does the stupidest thing that someone who's trying to push a charade does, is they tell you, oh, by the way, this is just a charade.
I'm about to do this thing, yeah.
Oh, he's fine. And the money that comes in, it's going to be billions of dollars.
Of donations
will finally
to
be
Trump?
$1 billion.
No.
Huh? That Trump will make?
Maybe.
One year is estimated at $760 million.
1 year of what?
1 year of his projected fundraising total.
People are donating that amount to him?
They're donating more than they ever did when he was running. Don't you know this? He's raising 25%. His 35, 40%, whatever it is, of the party. They're giving
They're not
him
rich.
$25 donations every week. And there's 35 million of them. I mean, look, and it spiked when he started raising the court issues. And then those same supporters, not in the tens of thousands, but in the thousands, showed up for pro-Trump rallies, and there was threats and all this other bullshit. A minority of folks, to be sure. But here's the point. Our institutions are holding. This isn't happening. The court said, no, you don't. The new executive coming in is saying, no, you don't. And the attorney general says, you know what? It's just easier for me to quit. So Bill Barr writes a 2-page memo it's entitled his resignation letter, but in fact, the subtext is, I want to blow you for 2 pages and get out of this alive without a tweet firing. That was the subtitle. I don't know if you could see that on your copy of it. Maybe it was redacted. But things have happened. It's like rats running from a ship. And the thing is, the ship that all the rats are running away from, it's going to be immediately, if he would want it, immediately, the largest third-party candidate, not just in the history of the country in terms of that's a record, but 35 million. Compare that to what John Anderson got when he ran for president, and it was a remarkable.
Who was John Anderson?
Try to remember 12%. He'll start at 12%. This is 35%. And Trump, all he has to say is, this is my new party, and I'm going to go ahead and run the ship.
Who's with me?
From Argentina, and or someplace that doesn't have an extradition treaty. And he's going to say, I can't go back because they want to arrest me. And he's going to stand up. He's going to stand on a podium down in Mar-a-Lago or then over to Argentina. And as he's standing on it, the lights will shine down on him. He'll put his hands up, and he'll look like fucking Ho Chi Minh. And they will rise above the shot of him in the spotlights in his cheering crowd and show as a fadeaway from a helicopter the fucking size of the crowd in any major city in this country.
No.
That's the new Trump party.
Okay.
That's where
he doesn't want power. He's never wanted power.
He wants money. This is money.
No, more than money. He wants attention. Because Daddy didn't give him it. And so he doesn't want to start a third party and then have other candidates join that party and other Congress people be in the Trump party, blah, blah, blah. Except to the level that it bears his name. But he just wants crowds of people cheering at him. And from Argentina, you can't get that because the Argentinians aren't going to crowd there, and his base isn't going to travel to Argentina for his rallies. So, it's not.
Maybe what they do is they create.
And let me tell you, a Zoom call with 200 people watching you, like I had last week, is not that energizing compared to a room of 40 people watching you
in person.
So it's a totally different energy. And he has a thirst for that energy, because when you walk out on stage and 5,000 people go, yeah, it's you, it's Dennis. Hey, look, that's the guy. That's the Dennis guy we came here to see. That fills you with a thing that cannot be touched by other.
In the first instance, that is cheering people. And in the second instance, it's people cheering. So one is actually right. See, you get that? See what I did there? See, I switched those things from one juxtaposition, twisted it.
Yeah, the noun and the verb went flip. And I
almost followed me. You're getting smarter. So it's too bad our listeners can't see you, because now you look more like Maynard G. Krebs than ever before. And I want to comment, even though it might seem redundant, I'm sure you've heard this before, is that it's remarkable how closely your physique looks like the thinker. I'm sure the show notes can link up to the Rodin sculpture, but I'm just amazed by that, because they don't know what you look like. But of course, having to pencil in a beard and a little, if I may say, a French mustache.
Oui, oui. Huh. You know what the G stands for in Maynard G. Krebs?
Yes. Guardian angel. No, I don't.
Close. Gwalter.
What?
So you know the name Walter, right?
Yeah.
Snap it with a G in front of it. Walter.
Walter? You're making that shit up. Aren't you?
Maynard Walter Krebs.
Fake news.
He's the beatnik sidekick of the title character of a U.S. television sitcom named, what was the show called?
Oh, I can't remember now. I'm drawing a blank.
The Mini Loves.
No questions. No questions.
The Mini Loves of...
What?
The Mini Loves of Dobie Gillis.
Dobie Gillis, that's right.
Yes. Portrayed by
Dobie
actor
Gillis.
Bob Denver. Huh.
Yes.
Also known for another role. Yes.
Another iconic role where he made money at Comic-Con for the rest of his life.
Oh, hold on. He's got there's a line about the middle name. He says, Maynard's middle name is Walter, named for his aunt. The G is silent, he would explain.
That's great.
That's such good 1950s humor.
That's funny.
Nailed it.
That's funny. And we exchanged some communications about Pleasantville.
Yes.
And each of us had seen it a couple of times. And I got to tell you this. Last night, as my wife went to bed, and I had taken my hour nap, so I was ready for a little lay down, a little movie action. And the first thing I do is I just check what's coming on right now, right, on the HBO or Showtime. And I got into this in the first minute, and I thought, oh, this is going to be good. And of course, I loved it.
Right.
But I saw it anew. Even though I've seen it 5 or 6 times, I've seen it anew and took particular attention since it's now so many decades earlier. That, for example, Reese Witherspoon won an Academy, some type of major acting award for first-time performance, introduction to the cinema. And she was 22 playing a high school girl.
Yeah, she was
23, actually, because Tobey Maguire was 22. But then to say, oh, man, and look at Don Knotts. And then, as I'm watching it again, suddenly, when J.T. Walsh walks into the barbershop, and they all get all rattled and say, hello, Mayor, and they shuffle in their chairs like the big shot's showing up, they better straighten up. And the guy jumped out of the barber's chair, and the barber let him jump out. And as J.T. Walsh, the character, the Mayor, Bob, was walking into the chair, he said, oh, I wouldn't think of taking your chair. And absolutely what he intended. And from that moment forward, for me, for the movie, knowing his other roles since then, and the tragedy of his early death and how this was a film in memoriam to him, it was riveting. And every time he was on the screen, I was just thrilled because he was so good in this.
It's
and
such
of course, James H. Macy just
William H. Macy.
William H. Macy, yes. Oh, just crazy good.
Yeah, it's got so.
And Joan Allen, she got an Academy Award
for this.
Best Supporting Actress.
Nice. Yeah, Reese also has an Academy Award for something later. What I love about Pleasantville is it's understandable on so many levels.
Every level.
You can I think I might have shown it to my kids. I might not have, but if not, I could show it to my kids, and my 12-year-old would just think it was great. And without having any knowledge of race in America and what it means to be colored and what it means to long for that time when things were that way before, and all of these underlying messages in this film. Because
the Academy Award was cinematography.
Good.
Because it was showing both colored and black and white footage throughout, which was the first time it had ever been done. And to this day, it holds up. Yeah,
I've done that trick on a couple of photographs. But, it takes me minutes to accomplish that for one frame. However they did that. Now it would be a lot easier with computers and stuff, but yeah, it was good.
But Jeff Daniels, a Michigan native up the road here, what I loved about seeing it again was that in that film, with time as it is, and him now in he's got to be, I think he's older than I am, so he may be in 68, 69 years
old. Jeff Daniels is 65 years old.
65, okay. Back then, he was at now in hindsight, he was at his handsomest. He was at that point in his career where he was so physically attractive. And it renders his shy and touching performance in a way that just makes it all work. He's one of the reasons I riveted. And of course, Joan Allen has been in so many movies where she was in the Bourne movies.
She was one of the
and she was at her wickedest there. She was at large, in charge, and you never for a moment doubted her invincibility when she was in charge, is the way that, and of course, as it turns out, no spoilers here. And I could say that There's never been a movie I've seen with Joan Allen in it that I wasn't impressed with both her and her movie. These are good choices she's made.
I agree.
So here's the quiz.
Yeah.
Who in Pleasantville ended up being a star turn in Billions many years later? Who was the actor, and what were his names in both shows? I'm breaking my own rule. This is a 4-part question.
You implied...
You're up for it.
So you implied by saying who was in Pleasantville that later in Billions, as an adult actor, was something. So that implies that he was a child in Pleasantville, or a teen maybe.
Or she. That's a logical conclusion. But
I don't know. None of the faces that I can run through my head.
I'm going to take you through this. Okay.
And also, I've done a Google search for Pleasantville and Billions, and no connection has come up.
This is good. This is remarkable. So I want you to listen to me. You might have to close your eyes, because I want you to imagine something.
Okay.
I want you to picture in Pleasantville the scene after the ravishing of the hotel by the gangsters, who came in, all the uncoloreds, and tore the place apart. And the teens came in, and they were going to clean it up. And the cafe dude, Jeff Daniels guy, came in, and they were going to clean it up. And this is what I want you to picture. There was a young man at the jukebox who plugged it in and looked up and said to the room, "Listen, it works." And they started playing a tune. And a girl started screaming, saying, "No, shut that off," because the new rules adopted by the council forbade that type of music. And that teenager who was at the jukebox, do you have the image in your head by any chance? Any remote
No, that was not an important enough scene.
Okay, so leave that to the side. Now it will make sense to you. So now picture Billions. And you're in the safe of the basement of the billionaire, and in walks this little short dude who's now been appointed Secretary of the Treasury. And he used to be a hedge fund manager, and his name is Todd Krakow. And he's remarkable in my memory because he was so short, and a superb actor.
Yeah, okay.
Picture that.
I've pulled up images of Todd Krakow in Billions.
You see his face.
Yeah.
He looked a lot like that when he was a teenager. So when you go to Pleasantville, that scene, you will look and you will say, "Holy shit, yeah, that's him."
Okay, hold on. Let's do some live research. That man's name is Danny Strong.
Danny Strong, that's the go.
Danny Strong was producer. He's in Billions.
Yes, he actually has a larger career than I knew when I wrote you today. Because
he's in Pleasantville under the role of Jukebox Boy.
There you go. Aptly named. See? That's why I gave you the image.
Wow.
It's the key to understanding. There he is. And look at the look on his face. He's, "Oh, man, that is him. Yeah, it looks just like him."
I got to share this image in the chat. This will be at happyhour.fm/089. See that? Someone's gone to the work of pairing them up.
Yes.
Wow. And you recognized him. You're like, "Hey, that's that guy from Billions." Yeah. That's wild. Your brain works sometimes.
My brain was working overtime. It happens all the time. I sing a song that I cannot rhyme. Anywho, what you got there, bro? Oh,
some Weissbier, yeah.
Weissbier.
Weissbier, yeah.
Weissbier. You drinking it out of a glass?
At the moment, I just have a bottle.
You had a glass, though. Was that what that was, or was that?
No, normally I would drink a. Hold on.
Shot of whiskey.
Oh, yeah.
Drink a shot of whiskey.
I don't shot of whiskey. Well, I saw a joke the other day. You just reminded me. Did you hear that William Shatner began the line "ladies' lingerie"?
No.
They had to cancel it because no one wanted to buy Shatner panties.
That should be banned from the show, and you damn know it. That's pretty funny, though.
I've been hoping to share with you for a week.
I'm glad you brought him up because he's one of the remarkable people of my lifetime, in that his absolutely indefatigable attitude.
He's what?
And indefatigable attitude.
Indefatigable? Okay.
Yeah. Attitude for life, the joy of life, where he would talk about it and write about it and sing about it. And he's always been this guy who just likes to have fun doing stuff. And he doesn't take himself any more seriously than he expects us to. And it's fun because he's got an average Joe voice, and he's brave. He goes out. How much money do you think he makes from being a pitchman for Priceline? Holy shit.
Yeah, millions and millions.
Holy shit, man. How many clicks is that a day?
And playing on the stereotype. It's if Christopher Walken started doing commercials where he exaggerated his voice trick. It was like, I can't do a Walken, but yeah, you must buy this insurance or whatever.
There's a lot of people who do. Did you see the dance video I sent you?
Tell me you did. Not.
Did you watch it? Oh.
Wait. Oh, it was Christopher Walken. Damn it.
Oh.
It's even more top of mind if I watch that.
Hey, do you have it?
I have it in front of me.
Send it. You do?
I can't. No, hold on. I have to change browsers because YouTube wants to show me ads. Okay. Smash TV. This will be in the show notes so you can follow along.
Me? You talking to me?
Don't tell me you know any country dances. Whoa.
Indefatigable.
Okay, this is good.
I've lost track.
This is good.
This is the most boring part of the podcast so far.
Let's all be quiet while Erik watches videos.
I literally can't remember what you're looking for. I've completely lost the train of thought.
I was watching the Christopher
What's
Walken
that?
dance video.
Oh, yes. But then again, I am weak-minded.
Yes, strong-willed, but weak-minded. Yeah,
There's a song in there somewhere, isn't there?
Got strong will, but weak mind.
How do you men? Weak in heart. Hey.
What's up?
Bee Gees documentary came out. I can't wait.
Huh.
I can't wait to see it. What a strange family. Holy cow.
I don't know what's
talented beyond. Oh, so.
I saw a web cartoon the other day where it's these kids are playing with a Ouija board, and it goes to A and then L and then I and then V. It says alive. Oh my God! It says they're alive. And then it continues on so it spells out staying alive, and it says shit. We got a Ouija board.
Really? Is there a white cat that marches in? That hilarious Trump video dancing you sent me. Hey, did I tell you that when I had my wife listen to it, she didn't laugh? She didn't think it was funny, and she looked at me and she said, "I can't laugh at that asshole." And I thought, that's another. I thought it was one of the funniest things I've seen this year.
Yeah.
I thought. And you know what? The other thing is, too, you recall, or maybe you won't, is that there was a little strain of conversation we had where we were talking about different glimpses in situations in Trump where he was actually laughing and having such a good time that you. And when you see him at these rallies, like you were making the point earlier, which he relishes, he's such a Carnival Barker that when he hears this crowd, do you remember the clip of him hugging the flag, wrapping it in his legs, right?
He was humping the flag.
It appeared to be, can you imagine using that in the dance too? I'm a little surprised they did it because it's just remarkable. But this thing that he does where the fat man is dancing, if you want to see an image that you wish you hadn't seen, look at that from behind.
Yeah.
His fat ass bouncing back and forth. His obese, small-handed, orange-haired, fucking depraved, soulless fuck.
So there's an article out today. I don't know if you've seen it from CNN. The headline is, Trump administration finalizes rollback of showerhead standards. The U.S. Department of Energy on Tuesday finalized a pair of new rules rolling back water efficiency standards on showerheads and other consumer appliances. Remember when he was talking about how it's just the water, it just comes drip and we can't live like this. And
because he wants a higher water pressure?
He's just fed up with who is the government to tell us how much water we can waste an angle. I think. Says the guy that owns horses.
That's funny because you've actually clearly stated his obvious position, even though it's pretty funny to hear that's what somebody actually wants to happen. That is, i.e., don't let you waste as much water as you want.
I mean,
because it's limitless. It's limitless. And, hey, what's the percentage of Americans who think that the world is 5,000 years old? And look at the percentage of Republicans who think that. You can find that data in a split second. You're going to be fucking stunned. What percentage of the current Republican Party believes that the world is 5,000 years old?
See,
in the 60th percentile.
That was the thing that was such a hair up my ass in 2007, when we were all concerned about how George W. Bush was putting all this religion into politics, and there was so much. Right. There was, let's remove the evolution from the school books. Let's do all this, and that was the thing that the left was the most riled up about, at least the left circles that I hang around. And like that, and the whole dinosaur museum that they have, where they talk about how the humans and the dinosaurs were played around and stuff. That's creationist thinking. It's still there, but it's just been drowned out by so much more toxic ideas that we can't even deal with that. Almost to the
point of who cares.
We can't even deal with it.
Who cares? If you want to believe that the Earth is 5,000 years old, what do I care? I'm worried about what you're doing right now. That's the general attitude. But frankly, that's one of the reasons why you don't hear the statistic much, because it really doesn't matter. But then when you hear the statistic recently, which I think it's 62% maybe, I might be all wet on this, but you probably can find it. But nonetheless, whatever percentage it is, it's too fucking much.
Right.
Divorced from reality as we know it, or as the world in vast majority believes it to be. But at this day and age, as you point out, well, so who cares? You can believe that. I don't care if you believe that we used to be comic book characters and we came to life through some magic comic book god. Who cares? What are we doing?
Hold on, no, that one's true though. It's no, I found this article from 2013. 70% of Georgia Republicans believe in creationism.
What percent?
70.
And I said 64, and I was afraid I was too high.
Well, this is Georgia Republicans. That's
okay. And so you got a national stat. I bet you it's 62. I'll see. We'll test my memory. See if I get any points.
Let's see. 2019, 40% of Americans.
Yes.
Which is what?
And what percentage of voting Americans are in the solid Trump camp?
Yeah,
35%. Okay. So then cut that down to.
Okay, hold on. The percentage of Republicans.
Yes.
The percentage of Republicans in August 2019, 55.
55. I was high.
That's
shit. Yeah, high or whatever. Majority. Okay. A pretty solid majority. 55% in politics is a lot.
But
at any rate, I like what Joe Biden's doing. He's made some huge blunders that are kind of interesting, because shit happens. But when you are on the phone with progressive civil rights activists who want certain people appointed, or specifically, we heard you were going to appointing, and we're here to tell you we don't support that.
Right.
And then within the day, his campaign announced his appointment. So you've got their tape in the morning, and then you've got the announcement in the afternoon where the person they said who he's appointed, I think his name is Glausic, something like that. But no matter. It's just the point. The larger point is, because of all this activity, stuff is happening. But I'll tell you what, it's worrisome to me. And it is the capability of a fledgling, let alone a seasoned administration, to actually manage the executive branch and all of the stuff that it takes to go from policy to legislation to funding to implementation. That's a big, tough thing to do. If they can't manage appointments early on in the process, then that shows a lack of competency that is a little alarming.
Right.
If it's the only time it happens, it's like, all right, live and learn. But part of me says, don't do this, Joe. Don't start to slip, because here's my rub again in the Obama administration that I mentioned before. I was in government. I was in state government when he had that huge bailout and all that money, that trillions that was going, which actually in its totality did save the economy. But the way that money flowed and created this bureaucracy, which was so many people at the table that there was no inertia and stuff was nuts. It was not well thought through. There were not good protocols. People could not get the stuff approved. The money did not flow. It made no sense. It went on forever. They rolled out the healthcare website. Crash. Oh, my God. So their management skill was poor in that administration in many ways. Highly laudatory of the full breadth of it, but nonetheless, to be objective. If Biden makes those goddamn mistakes now, he's a fucking fool, because he should see what happened when he was vice president and say, we're not doing that again. He's got enough smart people around him. One of them should be in charge of that. Right? To say, let's see how can we do better than that.
That's what I need.
So it's a work in progress. Not the best of circumstances for an incoming president. And finally, Moscow Mitch and Putin both congratulate Biden on the same day. And the little thing on MSNBC that I thought was humorous was that when they were reporting these two bits of news, the banner on the bottom said, McConnell and Putin recognize Biden, which is so hilarious because his nickname, of course, is Moscow Mitch. And he's completely supportive and more than complacent. He's totally engaged in this fucking amazing espionage with Russia. That every one of us thinking people in the world are saying, yeah, of course he is. And we do believe that Putin's got tapes of women pissing on Trump, golden showers. At this point, why do we care? I already think it happened. It's not going to change my view. So Trump can say, go ahead, Putin, spill the beans. Right. Who cares? Nothing he can do or say is going to make either you or I say it's unbelievable.
Or his supporters. No Trump supporter, if they release the P tape, no Trump supporter is going to abandon it. They're going to be like, yeah,
it's going to get to the. So he's got to find. He'll settle on a new core, and there's a difference between the 35% of Republicans vote that he had as his command throughout his presidency, through which he raised a certain pace of money to fuel everything. And then that number didn't double, but it went to 47%. It went up 12 points because he got 47% of the vote. The question right now is, so how much did he move his core base? Was it 35 million to 40 million, which is huge? Was it 35, or is there Trump fatigue, even in the true blue? And are we right back to where we have been for all this time, generally, which is in the 32 to 34, 35% range? I suspect it's that. That's what it'll settle on. That number.
You're okay. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen.
You're pretty good at this. Go ahead.
Wait a minute.
Wait, let's make a toast. Let's make a toast because I need a swig of beer. Cheers to your. What's your beer again?
Paulaner. It's a Munich beer. Weiss beer.
And me with.
Which means white beer. It's like a wheat
fat
beer.
Tire.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, I'm first time I haven't drank Smittix in a while because the store I went to didn't have it. And this is why I love this beer. Fat Tire is fabulous.
It is. All right. I'm gonna lay out why you're wrong and why listening back to this in the future is going to be so clear that I was right. What's going to happen? Trump's going to leave office, never admits defeat. He will not be convicted of anything because Biden will maybe not pardon him, but let everyone know that he will pardon the past president because that's what Democrats do.
Okay,
in the same way that Obama said, "Let's put the past behind us" when it came to Bush's.
Yeah, this is remind me. Let me just before you go to the next thing.
Yes,
just stop right there. Let me tell you why that's not going to happen. Because Biden, unlike Trump, you've become apparently inured from the pain of this, but Biden, unlike Trump, is not going to intervene with what a Department of Justice official does with another elected official. And as a result of that, the point of that Biden's going to intervene, no, I don't buy it.
Obama specifically
encourage it.
Hold on. George W. Bush could have been tried for many things about lying to start a war and things like this, but Obama definitely told the entire federal government, let's let that be bygones.
That's a federal government.
Water under the bridge.
Are you telling me, including but not limited to the Department of Justice? Do you think that's what Obama did?
I don't know.
With DOJ specifically in your list of communications that. Look,
you have your theories. Let me get my theory out. Shut the fuck up.
I don't want to be. Hey! I don't want to be aggressive about this.
I don't think Trump is going to pay with. He might pay some fines or something, but pay with any jail time.
Imagination on the Trumpian future is a little startling to me.
Hold on,
a couple of things might have happened. I think maybe you've drank too much beer and it's numbed your senses.
Okay.
Because it's a little less remarkable to think that Trump won't go to prison and will therefore have to go to another country.
Hold on.
Okay.
Are you going to let me finish? As they like to say on the news.
Well,
he's going to go back to playing golf and tweeting. What he was doing before. And there will be news stories almost every day about what the former president is tweeting today. But no one will pay much attention aside from that. And he's going to live on a golf course for the rest of his days. And any charges against him will be settled out of court somehow. And he will face no consequences. That's my prediction.
So some of that I think you may be right about. But I will tell you this, and to your earlier point, one thing that this golf and Twitter thing completely seems to ignore, which is your earlier point, which makes the ignoring of it even more obvious, is that he relishes the crowd. And there's no way that a life of tweeting and golfing is going to satisfy that narcissistic desire. Therefore, you got to expand that a little bit. And he doesn't give a fuck whether or not these crowds are spreading the virus. He will do it. And so therefore, he's golfing and he's tweeting, to be sure. He's also on an airplane, and wherever he goes on the airplane is where his rallies are. They land, they have a rally, they get in the plane, they go to the next place. He's been doing it. He's a master at that. And so I do believe that won't get the attention it does. This is what I heard from the pundit from Louisiana, James Carville. From Carville, Louisiana, by the way, in Iberville Parish down there. He said,
he's from the same place
if you don't have power, nobody cares what you say.
Yeah.
And this supports your point.
Yeah.
Because you're saying he's not going to be president anymore. There will be some following of it, but he's going to lose a whole lot of pizzazz. That's exactly what Carville says. And then I think the most recent example of that is the fact that in the newscast I've been watching, they're not, as I said earlier, they're not showing Trump. They're not cutting in for Trump. They're reporting that he talked and maybe a clip and maybe not. They're ignoring him already.
Yeah, it's going to be like how these big megachurch preachers have this huge audience, and their egos are super fluffed, but it's not news. No one.
They're Carnival Barkers. Carnival Barkers.
That's the title of this episode.
Here's the thing, and I want to join this, which your insight here is tied to this fact again. So at the end of the day, what is his new core? Because that is what we're talking about.
Core supporters?
Yes. How big is his core? And I suspect that his core, which includes total belief, yes, God, and I'm going to send you $25 every paycheck, okay? That 270 to 400 million a year business of generating that money, none of which is controlled by election laws because he's not running for anything. He's just doing what he does. That's $1 billion. Donald Trump will become the billionaire that he's always claimed to be. And the real fearful question for my kids is fucking Ivanka and Donald and Junior and Erik going to be a parent?
Where they go is interesting.
The fucking link of Ivanka and Jared moving to Billionaires Lane down in Miami, down in Florida somewhere. And it says, while Ivanka mulls over her political future.
Yes.
And
she could
be the report
be a
Don Jr. positioned himself in the National Republican Party, okay, where he could end up being the chair of the Republican National Party.
That's funny.
Soon.
Yeah.
Because he, in fact, needs a place to run from. He's just like his dad.
It'll be interesting to see the explosion in the diaspora of the Trump White House and where they all end up.
Yeah.
And where
there's a whole lot few of them are going to end up in prison. He apparently is pardoning so many people, even people who don't want to be pardoned. I mean, we talked about this last show, but it's pretty hilarious. I mean, it's almost like he's the buffoon in chief, and we're like, this is so much your last fiddle. And you're going to just be another fucking crackpot with a bunch of followers, albeit that we don't actually have to pay attention to anymore. You're not the president. You're like a fucking old suit. You're like yesterday's fucking news. You're on the bottom of a fucking bird cage. And speaking of bird cages, how about we do a bit of dialogue on this second episode of Your Honor?
I want to touch on a brief thing about what you just said. Was
three things?
I heard
3-part.
Yeah.
Number one, you love lists. You're good with lists.
I'm not making a list. I want to say one thing. that I heard an interesting podcast talking about how the pardoning system has always worked, and how it's always generally been an honorable thing, like created. It was created for people that had already served their time, and as a check in the checks and balances between the branches of government. That if the legislative branch and the judicial branch overstepped their bound, the executive could jump in and say, no, not that. But apparently, so far, including all of Trump's pardoning of Michael Flynn and those people, in general, the pardon considered most controversial was that of Gerald Ford pardoned Nixon for anything he had ever done and anything that would happen in the future.
Yes.
He gave this totally blanket pardon.
Which is what Flynn got.
That stopped so many lawsuits in their tracks. Like, they were like, well...
But nothing state level.
Of course.
Nixon wasn't being investigated for state-level crimes. That's the only difference. And I don't want to overplay the New York Southern District District Attorney's office on this. The whole movie, you remember the Billions, is all based on that office. Or not.
Yeah.
So you and I've got a lot of images from all of that and how all that works. But
yeah, okay. Do you want to shift over to
Your Honor?
Oh, that's what you should be calling me this whole time.
It's funny you say that, because every time when I want to say something, I have to stumble over the fact that I want to call you Your Honor, but I don't, because it's a little embarrassing that I hold you in such eminence.
Sometimes I think you're saying you wanna, but let's talk about this.
Let me ask you this.
In two episodes ago, I think we excoriated the other show, Nicole Kidman, the final episode of that, for being all over the place and trouble and like narratively troublesome. And Undone. Yes, that exactly. We undid Undone. And
and we're looking forward to Your Honor. Bryan Cranston, of course, a favorite of both of us.
Yes, he's a fantastic actor. And also, are you the one that said that you've never seen Breaking Bad?
Yes.
Because this is very the vibe of this show of I've done something and the authorities are going to find out unless I can clean up all of the possible evidence.
Right.
Which is exhilarating, and anyone can imagine, at least I can, being in that situation where, oh no, I accidentally did a thing that is going to look really bad, even though I wasn't trying to kill this person. Here I am scrubbing blood off the floor. And that's sort of nerve-wracking feeling of, oh my God, they're going to find out. I need to clean up all the evidence. Where was I? Did I leave my shoe over there? When I turned off the faucet, was my hand dirty with blood at the time? That sort of thinking.
And to your point, the image that floods my brain here is the look on his face in the bright light of the interior of his wife's car that his son had been driving as he's wiping the blood off the seats, and his utter terror at what was happening and what he had to do. And the lighting and the cinematography for that particular scene was almost enough to set you back on your heels. It was so strong. I like a lot of what they're, and I will not miss an episode because it is riveting. But I often wonder why these screenwriters put stuff in there that detracts from the acting, because they put a plot twist in there that isn't really necessary for any increased drama. Right. What it does instead is it makes it incredible. And in the spoiler here, of course, the fact that he runs to the house, he sees it's a shotgun, he goes to court as a judge, and he says, you know what, you can't see around corners, and so she's innocent. Does that boy who ends up being the gangster who steals the car have to be her son from the same house? Why? Why couldn't, you know why? Here's the answer, because I thought about this. It's because they wanted this courtroom scene where the judge goes to the hearing of the kid who stole his car, which I had to question. Would a well-known judge attend a hearing of his wife's car? That makes good sense. But would he do that if he was guilty of making it all happen? That was a little weird. I could buy that. But then you remember after the court scene, the woman who he had exonerated runs to him in the hallway and implores him to help and says, I know you're a good man. I know you're a good man, blah, blah, blah. And you go, what? It's your son. And then they show the raid. So here's the thing in New Orleans. Having spent some time down there, it would have been totally credible, and that scene would have been almost identically done if instead of it being the woman, it was her cousin who lived next door, or it was somebody else from the neighborhood who brought the sister whip. And as they were walking out of the courtroom, the same woman had the same lines. But instead of being this direct, it's a little indirect. And so it's like, why do you got to turn it into more of a fairy tale?
They're stumbling over their own wit. There's so many own goals here where you didn't have to make it this dumb. Like, you could have had it be another person.
It could, yeah. What was it? What was the other scene?
I don't know if they're thinking that they're so clever.
Yeah, you're right. They're trying to be too clever. They're too slick. So here's a question for you. That wasn't in my email of 13 questions. This is one I didn't ask you. This is one I didn't pose.
Oh, no, a new question.
And maybe I just missed it. Tell me again, why were they torturing Coffee? What did they want to know from him that wasn't apparent? Since the cops arrested him, found the cell phone, were they torturing him to say where he got the cell phone? Meaning that he ran over the kid? Because if that's the case, he didn't admit it. What exactly happened there?
Because they're gangsters. You recall? The answer.
Huh? What?
Because they're gangsters. It's not that hard.
Wait a minute. Because they're gangsters. That doesn't answer the question.
And I'm talking about the Italians, not the.
It just seems to me that these things that stretch on credibility are so obvious to anybody who would see an early version of this that I wonder, like, who are you showing this stuff to? Who doesn't recognize that's like stretching it? Why do that?
Yeah.
You don't need that to make anything work. It just is a negative. If I can understand that, and you agree, you're right there with me.
I'm with you, bro. I'm with you.
Mano together. And it reminds me of the scene in Pleasantville when they're in the bowling alley and J.T. Walsh is saying, here's the question, gentlemen. Are we going to do this apart or are we going to do this together? And in order to make his point about how bad things have gotten, he calls up Arthur. I think it's Arthur. And Arthur comes forward, and J.T. Walsh, in this very touching performance, puts his hand on, I think his name is Arthur's shoulder, and says, it's okay, Arthur. I know that this is really hard. And Arthur, to my delight, takes off his jacket and shows that his wife has made an iron mark on his shirt.
Yes.
And it makes J.T. Walsh's caring demeanor, and he was showing true leadership qualities. And he got all the men to be startled into saying, together. And then they go over to William H. Macy. They go over to Dad's character, and he's shown cheering together. And that's the end of the scene. I love it. When Macy's color came to his face, I cry.
Nice.
He's crying. He makes me cry. It's a remarkable moment in cinematography.
Yes.
You agree?
I remember that moment in that film. That was one of the highlights, yes. After doing some research, it seems that our ire is directed at Peter Moffat, an English playwright and screenwriter who wrote episode 1 and 2 of Your Honor.
Your Honor. Yes. I bet you, this is my prediction, is that episode 3 is going to totally restore my faith and they'll get back on track again, having thus established the main ingredients. So here's the question. Why
the other episode, he only wrote the first 2. The rest are written by other people.
We've only seen 2.
Yeah, but I can tell you that the others are written by other people.
As I suspected.
3 through 6.
And so
which one? Episodes 3 through 6 are each written by different people.
Each of them?
Yes.
So
Alison
the starter
McDonald,
gets
David
2.
Matthews.
The guy up first does 2.
In this scenario, I think he also might have bankrolled some of it.
And those are different screenwriters or different directors? Or both? Who's doing the screen?
It says written by the teleplay by Peter.
Okay. That's what.
Your Honor is an American limited series starring Bryan Cranston, adapted from the Israeli TV series Kvodo.
You didn't know that?
I did not.
Yes, and actually there's an analysis of the difference between the two that I just saw. I didn't read it. I had a busy week. So I'm glad to see it. There's some answered questions that are plot twists and whatnot. The placement of the signed autographed baseball and how that plays into it, and whether or not that was an error. On the one hand, a remarkably smart writing acting scene was when they pulled out of the reclamation shop at the sheriff's office that they ran over the hump and a piece of the motorcycle fell out.
Yes.
I thought that was remarkably good writing. And I wonder if the same is true with the baseball. I'm hoping that the baseball isn't some cheeky thing.
Throwaway.
Yeah, I mean something that was like, so now you're doing it again. Now you're doing this little plot twist that you don't need.
Will this pay off or not?
You don't need to be that busy. There's some central themes. I mean,
before I watched episode 2, before it was available, I went and rewatched the first half of the first one, where it's totally intense to see every detail, because I knew when I was watching the first time that every detail was going to be referenced.
So the inhaler, of course, is the one of the biggest takeaways. The inhaler itself, waiting for the DNA on the inhaler, different kinds of blood on the inhaler. We're waiting for that, and then the gangster, sorry about the name, he is listening again and again to the tape of the 911 call, where what he hears in the tape is
yes,
and he's understanding a glimpse maybe, but not quite yet, what this means.
Let's just do the next 20 minutes like this. Keep going.
Okay, wait, I'm going to give my rendition of it, and you give yours. What's yours? Go ahead.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Let's do it together. You sound more like a zombie or somebody whose throat is falling apart. That's good though.
Let's not do this anymore.
Let's rewrite the episode. Let's rewrite it so that the kid, because he's got the blood of the dead kid, he does in fact turn into a zombie. And as he is calling on the cell phone, that's what we hear is him turning into a zombie. That's how you sound it.
See, that would sell so much better in the red states. Like this is a blue state movie.
Political overtones.
But
that's great, like a fine wine.
So much better.
Maynard G. Krebs, you're amazing. The thinker.
The thing I was going to say, I forgot it.
Hey, so have I talked to you since I ended up in my daughter's partner's recording studio?
No.
Hey, man.
Tell me about
over there. Hey, man, I want you to hear a song. I thought we were going to go upstairs and he was going to play his 6-string or his 12-string for me. He's an accomplished guitarist. And he's got a few CDs. One of them that I've listened to beginning to end was some hard rock and stuff. And not leaning toward metal in a way that I really appreciated. When we went upstairs, and instead of playing music, he turned on his computer, and he said, I want you to listen to these 6 tracks that we just laid down. And a song he wrote, a song he sings, a song that he's playing guitar for. His drummer's recorded in his virtual studio.
Right.
And he said, so here's where I want your harmonica. You're going to hear me play the right key, but poorly. And so I'll add that, but then I'm going to take it away because I don't want you to hear that. This is where I want you to come in. Now, I had a sore on my lip, so I couldn't bring my harps with me, even though I thought we might play a little bit. I didn't expect to go into a studio and listen to recorded music.
Cool.
So we're drinking whiskey, and he's listening, and he was funny because he says he's the writer, right? It's his song. He wrote the words, he's writing the tune, he's playing the guitar, and he says, this is what I want the harmonica to sound like. And so he put his hand up to his mouth, and where he wanted the harmonica, he went, of course, like Alan used to do.
Right.
And because we were getting a little bit loaded, he did it like the whole song. So that as I'm sitting there listening without a harmonica, wishing, damn, I wish I brought it. Right? But I love the idea that he's so clear about what he wants, and we're in agreement as to where the stuff fills in. But it was a remarkable experience. So I'm going over there, and we're going to lay down some tracks, man.
Yeah,
but he's a songwriter, and he's prolific. And so we're listening, they're drinking, to listen, blah, blah, blah. And he says, I want you to, here's one. And he starts with this guitar riff that is like really difficult riff. And on a bluesy kind of moving kind of a jingo jango that's going on. And it's just him and the guitar. And he's setting up in the first several bars for the whole band to come in and just jam out with this song about jobs all suck. And the words are distinct, and he's jamming out. And I said, whoa, I see horn. Who's on the horn? He said, me. I said, so is this your drummer? He said, no, I'm doing the drums. I said, where are the drums? He said, they're in the basement. I said, oh. And I said, whoa, is that you singing 3-time harmony? He said, yeah, that's me. I said, so is this all you? He said, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, track after track. And he said, this is where I want you to come in. And I'm like, oh, I hear that. I said, but
why would you want to collaborate with anyone at this point?
Yeah, actually, on that point, I said him with this song that had this lead-in of this great acoustic guitar and just his marvelous fucking voice, which is so different. His singing voice is so different from his speaking voice. And I love it. And he reminds me of someone I can't quite put my hand on, but it's extraordinarily clear and professional.
Nice.
And I said to him, he says, and I want some, a harp in here, And I said, listen, let me tell you something. Some songs just don't need harp. Some people would say one harp is too much, let alone two. And he looked at me and he said, this is my song. I know what I want it to sound like. Damn. And you need to figure that out with me. And so we went through the song, like the opening, 3 times. And I finally said, okay, I got it. I'm going to give you a deep, sultry one note throughout that. Almost like a violin string, right? Just a little bit in the background so that you barely even notice it. And he said, that's it.
Nice.
And I thought, this is going to be fun.
Cool.
This is going to be fun.
I look forward to this.
And he said, tell everybody you play with that your son-in-law is an engineer.
Nice.
And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I'll be there every weekend or whatever is said. He said that he's up there 10, 12 hours a week.
Sure.
And he's laying down this shit. And I said, I've got a couple of tunes. And these are, in fact, tunes that I've dibble-dabbled in on some of our podcasts.
Right.
The tune about a guy who had breathing difficulties and couldn't go to the march, and he was breathing for George Floyd. There's a ballad in there, and I talked to him about. I said, so what do you think about ballads in general? So I like ballads, and he played one, and it was all jazzed up. And I said, I'm thinking about simple cowboy ballads, and he said, oh yeah, that's cool. And here's the thing about some of this stuff that is going to be an interesting juxtaposition in his studio to his amazing lyrics, and because of his beats and his exuberance of these tunes, he's saying a lot of stuff. Compare that to a ballad, which has one main theme that may be repeated again and again, and maybe a secondary theme, but that's it. And I just listened to a ballad the other day by Louisiana blues singer. I'm blanking on the name. Too many Bruces.
So I don't know that you can publish those ballads that you've shared on the program already. I think those are owned by Happy Hour Industries. We can't. Actually,
it's a money-making scheme.
Okay, we can sell the rights.
It's a money-making scheme. Yes, okay. Yes. We'll. In fact, I'm glad you said it because my lawyer will be calling your lawyer. I'm like Bob Dylan in the fucking band. I'm gonna end up owning the fucking songs you write. Oh yeah. I forgot to tell you. Yeah, well, you didn't read it. Should have read it, man. Come on, let's jam. But it's a tribute to Dylan's manager more than Dylan.
I learned recently that Lenny Kravitz performed all the parts on his albums.
Yes. And I had known that. I'm not surprised to hear.
And also that he grew up with like celebrity parents, hanging out with Miles Davis, and these people just in his childhood, hanging out with Frank Sinatra and those folks, as if it was
stole the shit to Pepsi. Not only his song, but his image. And in the Pepsi commercial, he's being passed through the crowd on his back.
Who is?
I believe I've got the right commercial. Lenny Kravitz. The amount of money that these guys make from doing that. I thought maybe I mentioned this last episode if I did, stop me. But the reaction from the writer from the band, who, what's his name? Shit. Who, when he heard that Bob Dylan sold his music to Pepsi, he was like, look, he's not happy about it, but he's taking the money because he did get 50% on that, or some figure, but not on his control. And that was funny. Painful, I'm sure. But this is going to be fun to be able to get back to that. I missed that in COVID, not being able to perform. And when these pickup bands that I would go to, you're going to be sharing a microphone. They're not going to call you up.
Can't do that.
To go, hey, man, use my mic. It's impossible.
No.
It's impossible. And you're not going to bring all your shit with you and set it up for 2 tunes. Or whatever you get to eke out of a busy song fest. You're lucky to get up there because these guys know what they're doing. I love to be able to do it. My son-in-law is the real deal, man. And my son is a guitar player. And I have the idea, and he won't listen to this, so I haven't said this to him yet. Actually, I think I have. I want him to pick up a bass because that's what we need. We got a 16-12 string classically trained aficionado.
Pick up a bass,
we can throw a rhythm guitar in there. We really don't need it. This kid can play both the lead guitar and rhythm guitar and just do 2 tracks. But to be able to pull my son into it, and my daughter went back to playing the violin, which we had supported and financed over years as a teenager. And I said to her, from henceforth, she was in the studio with us, I said, from henceforth, that is actually a fiddle. And she's on a little track that I heard. And I heard it. And I said, I hear a string in there. Is that you? And she said, yeah, it's not much. And he said, let me isolate it. Here's me on the guitar, and here's that, and there's her with a bow being drawn one way, perfectly done. Nice. And then he said, here's the track without me. And then it was just her playing the violin. And it was so smooth. And I looked at my daughter, I said, oh my God. So imagine the four of us. So this is what I'm going to propose to him.
Man.
And you'll love this idea. I'm going to say to him, and I don't know how he'll like this because he's doing all original stuff. I'm going to say, I want to do a cover of a B.B. King Christmas blues song of your choosing. And I want to do a cover because I want the four of us to be able to do a Christmas song on Christmas. And this isn't that hard. Not when you've got a talent like a guitarist,
right,
a harmonica player that's played it a million times. And we just do a Kelsey drum beat to add to the track to just pull it off the net. And then my son playing bass and then the fiddle coming in. I just can't wait. Can't wait.
That could work.
And so this is Christmas and almost New Year. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, so this is Christmas. Oh, this is Christmas. Oh, I love the lights all are shining. Oh, this is Christmas with you. Oh, no, no, no. And what's so exciting about this thing that's going to happen is as we played with Phil over the years, when you've got a talent that can just fucking go crazy on that guitar, you don't have to worry about anything else.
Right.
In terms of how is this gonna? Oh my God, let's go.
Keep the rhythm.
Yes.
And some chord changes, and
who was our piano player back in the day? Rob.
Don.
Yeah, my father's name. Go figure. And he had a catalog of what? 400 songs.
Yeah, those were just the ones on paper. The ones in his mind or more, yeah.
And then when he would say, I don't know, sing it. And then I'd sing a few, and he'd say, oh, yeah, now I know it. And bam.
Yeah.
Just that.
Yeah, the musicians that can do that and anticipate the next chord change without...
And so there's a trombone leaning against the wall in my son-in-law's recording room, which I didn't notice. And I thought, oh, my God. I used to play the trumpet, and I've been thinking about doing it again. And how simple it would be with a trumpet in hand to do what he's doing on the trombone. And he said, I don't have to know much to be able to play what I want to play. Because what's the trombone doing? Ha, 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 ha. Right. Ha, 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 ha. Or ha, 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 ha. Yeah. It's just, you don't need to know much. It's not that complicated. Well, I'm just excited. Am I going to pick up the horn again?
I'm looking forward to this.
And he can fucking play the banjo.
What an asshole.
I said, you play the banjo? He said, oh, yeah. And I'm listening to this tune, and I said, is that you on the mandolin?
God damn it.
And he says, oh, yeah. I said, oh, wow.
Well,
and I'm looking up on the screen. There's 10 tracks. He's got 3-part harmony that he's recording over this remarkable voice that he has.
What a jerk.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
That's...
well, here's to the holidays, man. I got to tell you how much I look forward to this. This is just an hour for me to be, well, you probably can guess what I'm going to say. It makes me feel, yeah. Now
not sad.
Say it. No.
The opposite of sad.
Sometimes I'm sad that you're not smarter, but I don't let it bother me.
You and me both.
No, not really. I work through it.
Yeah.
I work through it.
Sometimes I get sad that I'm not smarter, but then I forget.
Well, we come into it as we leave, relishing in our kinship and our good humor.
Yes.
Cheers, my friends. Next week.
See you next week.
Ciao, baby. Peace.
Okay, that's it for episode number 89. You can find the show notes at happyhour.fm/089. If you'd like to help us make this show, or just give us a Christmas present or something, you can go to patreon.com/happyhour and buy us around. We would love that. We will probably mention you on the show if you were so kind to do so. And thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.